Week 8 waivers, loads of injury fallout, loads of big performances, loads of stuff that you need to know to get you set up to crush in week 8. I mean, it's make or break time, and there's loads going on. So let's get straight into it. Starting with Jauan Jennings, the awful news about Brandon Ayuk tearing just his ACL and his MCL out for the year. Deebo Samuel in hospital dealing with pneumonia. Things are not going well for the 49ers this year. We see it so often. Teams run hot with injuries, stay free of them for so long, and then it all catches up to them at once. And it's awful to see. But Jauan Jennings now has a massive opportunity. We saw how to start the year when Brandon Ayuk wasn't playing well, but Jauan Jennings was out there. He's a really good zone coverage beater, and I think that he's going to see a very big elevated role. Ricky Pearsall is obviously going to play in really deep leagues. You might want to look for Ricky Pearsall, but Jauan Jennings seems like he's earned the trust. I mean, this guy was almost Super Bowl MVP at one point. So, yeah, definitely worth going to see if Jauan Jennings is out there. Kimani Vidal, 16% rostered. Clear split with J.K. Dobbins in the backfield in terms of snaps after Monday Night Football. Yes, J.K. Dobbins got more touches, but it seems they're completely comfortable having Kimani Vidal out there now. He has the 2-minute role, which we know is a high-value sort of opportunity and can lead to some good points. And the Chargers, they're a run-first team. We're not going to keep seeing Justin Herbert put up huge passing numbers or anything. We're going to see Greg Roman implementing the scheme he wants, the defense keeping scores low, and the team still in it. Kimani Vidal should be rostered everywhere, just in case something happens to J.K. Dobbins. Hit the subscribe button whilst you're here because we have so much going on. We've got Dynasty buys and sells coming later this week. Our Week 8 preview. Tyler's back with Underdog Battle Royale content. And, of course, here on Sunday for your start-sit stream. Tyrone Tracy, 57% rostered. He is creeping up a little bit higher than I like to recommend normally, but well worth going out and checking for. 72% of snaps this week, 40% of the attempts, and 76% routes in week 7 before Devin Singletary was taken out of the game when the score was completely blown out. That data courtesy of PFF. But yeah, Devin Singletary is seeing a reduced role. He only played 21% of the snaps this week. And obviously, the Seahawks blew out the Giants. The Giants got blown out. So things were a little wonky in this one. But I think Tyrone Tracy is here to stay. It's probably going to be a bit of a timeshare at points, but Tyrone Tracy is the more explosive player. And that's generally the type of running back who I want on my roster. Drake Maye, mentioned him for the last 2 weeks in these videos. 16% rostered now. He's been the QB4 and the QB12 through 2 games as a rookie, including one of those games being on the road in London. Like, these aren't easy things to do. 519 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Drake Maye is cooking. Everybody was so worried about the offensive line instead of going, Drake Maye can create out of structure. That's what you got from this channel. We told you all offseason that Drake Maye would be able to hit the ground running because he played behind an awful offensive line at Carolina. He played with awful receiving weapons at Carolina. So it's always going to get a little bit bumpier. He's probably not going to be able to run as hot as he's been doing. But Drake Maye, his dual threat ability and the fact that he's willing to push the ball downfield, it keeps the Patriots in games and it can keep him fantasy relevant. Jeudy, 48% rostered. Look, Deshaun Watson's injury, it's probably going to improve the offense. Now, I know that DTR isn't the best quarterback out there. It feels like a matter of time before Jameis Winston is in at quarterback. And if Jameis Winston's in at quarterback, Jeudy is absolutely going to cook. He's had 5.8 targets per game over the last few weeks whilst Amari Cooper was there. Now you're looking at a player who can really be the de facto wide receiver 1 on this team. The Browns defense, they've regressed massively. They're like outside the top 15 in defensive DVOA this year. And that's going to keep the offense having to pass the ball. Not to mention, if Jameis Winston gets in there, he's going to turn over the ball enough that, again, it's going to put them in pass-heavy scripts when they do have the ball. Romeo Doubs, 45% rostered. Third 7+ target game this year. He has 143 yards and 2 touchdowns since his 1-game suspension from the team for acting like a bit of a jackass. He gets the gimme matchup of the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. The Jags give the most wide receiver fantasy points in the league. Even if you only pick Romeo Doubs up for this week, he's a viable start. If you're hurting an injury because you lost Brandon Ayuk or someone like that, go and check for Romeo Doubs. Once more, you made it 5 minutes into this video. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Nothing but good content here with one simple aim to help you win. Rashod Bateman, again, mentioned him here for the last 2 weeks. Been talking about how well he's been playing consistently. The Bucs scores, they were kind of steady. He was a back-to-back wide receiver, top 36 wide receiver, which in most leagues, that's a startable wide receiver. And then he comes out against the Bucs and has the Rashod Bateman week, a career week, his biggest ever performance, 4 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown. He's responsible for Lamar Jackson's 3 biggest passing plays this year. He's had 58 receiving yards plus in 3 straight games. The Ravens defense still continues to be awful. We're waiting to hear if Marlon Humphrey is going to miss any time with a knee injury. If that happens, then this secondary is going to give up even more passing yards. And Rashod Bateman, the Lamar Jackson connection, it's real. And we should be leaning into it whenever we need it because the Ravens are just going to keep putting up points. Hunter Henry, again, mentioned him for the last 2 weeks, goes out and has 341 and a touchdown against the Texans. Then he goes to London and has 8 for 92 against the Jags. There is going to be games for the Patriots where Hunter Henry is going to struggle because they do face some decent passing defenses coming up. But Hunter Henry is the outlet for Drake May. That quarterback play is clearly an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. Hunter Henry's clearly the most reliable wide receiver on the team right now, and he's absolutely worth rostering if you've been struggling at tight end. Getting some deeper ones now, so all you people are like, oh, he's rostered in my league. Jalen McMillan, 2% rostered. Now, if you need somebody for immediate coverage, and if you need somebody to get you a win in week 9, maybe Trey Palmer is the better choice. He played the majority of the routes compared to Jalen McMillan this week. But Jalen McMillan feels like the more natural player to take over in the slot now that Chris Godwin, who suffered a likely dislocated ankle against the Ravens, now he's going to miss the rest of the season. The thought always was that Jalen McMillan could be the natural replacement for Chris Godwin long-term with him being a pending free agent. Now he gets the opportunity. The Bucs, their offense has been firing on all cylinders. Maybe they look to make a trade, bring someone else in, but I really like Jalen McMillan as someone you can stash and maybe he can explode down the stretch. Tim Patrick, 2% rostered. Jameson Williams suspended for 2 games due to banned supplements. I mean, look, Jameson Williams, he can't get out of his own way sometimes. 45% of snaps since week 2 for Tim Patrick. He seems to really have earned that wide receiver 3 role. Dan Campbell absolutely loves him, has been so effusive about him, talked about him nonstop at various points. And this Lions offense is humming. Like Jared Goff can barely make an incompletion at the minute. Everything he does seems to be perfect. Everything is working really well. I want pieces of offenses like that. Yes, Tim Patrick's probably not going to be a league winner or anything like that. You're probably just looking at a guy who's useful for the next 2 games. But if you need cover, there's no bye weeks in week 8, but there's plenty of bye weeks in week 9. Then Tim Patrick can give that to you. Tim Patrick is probably an easier start than a lot of players who will be more rostered than him. In terms of drops, there's a bunch we can be dropping this week. Brandon Ayuk, look, I mean, he's gone. Time to just get on with it. Isaiah Likely has done just about nothing since week 1 in terms of total yardage. He's been held below 30 yards constantly outside of a 2-touchdown game against the Bengals. It's been nothing. Patrick Mahomes, look, unless you're in a super flex league, Patrick Mahomes, he's a dead weight. He's pulling your roster down right now. I know it feels awful to drop Patrick Mahomes, but go and do it. Honestly, you won't see the clamor on the waivers that you think you will from your teammates from your league mates to go and get him. Braylon Allen, new coaching staff just don't seem to be wanting to feature him in the same way the old one does. Everything's been to Breece Hall, and Breece Hall's been impressive. Trey Sermon, Jonathan Taylor should be back, and even if he's not, Goodson mixed in enough last week that it's just completely dinged Trey Sermon's value. And then Jalen Polk, I was really hopeful for Jalen Polk, but man, like every single play just seems to be a drop or something bad when it goes to Jalen Polk at the minute. Those are your week 8 waivers. Check out everything else we got on the channel. We will get you set up to win. Truly appreciate you being here. And if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below and we always get back to every single one of them. Appreciate you. This is Fantasy Sanctuary and we'll catch you again very soon.